Okay, hello. I just wanted to make a quick video demo of a piece of software that I built using Max. We could see that up here. And what it is a compositional tool for music that's going to be able to read one or multiple MIDI files and then generate a Markov chain out of the data derived from those files. So what that means is essentially the MIDI files that we load into it are going to be full of a lot of data that we can look at. And specifically, it's going to be pitch data from the notes that are being played, velocity data from, how hard the notes are being played, duration of each individual note, so how long they're being held for, and speed, so how often a new note is played within the files. And what it's going to do with that information, it's going to look at it and say, okay, here's a new sequence with the same data, but mixed around. And it's going to mix this around based on the probability of certain notes to go to other certain notes. And that's sort of the core of the way it's creating a Markov chain. Again, I don't want to get too off track here explaining in depth, but I'll put some additional resources in the description. The first thing we're going to want to look at is our note out object right here. Normally this wouldn't be visible per se in a standalone that you bounce out from Max, but it needed to be visible here so that we can double check and possibly change how we're sending MIDI data around our computer. So if you click that, we're going to have a couple options of how we can route this. Theoretically, you could route it out and control a synth with the data. Here I'm going to just use this option right here from JWP Markov MIDI Maker 1. And that's just the name of this app, right? It's going to get its own nice, you can think of that as like a pipeline through your computer. I could also use the IIC driver bus, but for now I'm just going to leave it as is. And now if we go to our DAW, we can either select that specific option, right? Just making sure to match it up. Or we could just do all-ins. I'm just going to leave this on all-ins, but if you're on Pro Tools or Logic, you might need to go in and you maybe select this option, or if you use the IDC driver bus, you can select that option as well. From there, once you know that you're routed correctly, we're going to go up to Read and navigate to anywhere in your computer where you have some MIDI files. I'm going to load in just a couple files I have. This first one is going to be an improvisation that I did just for the sake of a demo. And now what we're going to do is press Initiate. And once you press this Initiate button, it's going to, we're going to hear a bunch of notes played really fast and kind of chaotically, but all that's happening there is we have to play through the entire MIDI file first before the tool, the software itself, can start to think about creating a Markov chain with that data. So we're going to go ahead and press that now. Okay, great. And then once that's done, it means we've played through the whole file, and then we're ready to either build the model, or we can read an additional file. For the sake of this demo, I'm going to load an additional file. That way we could see how that works. I'm going to load in this one right here. This is quite a popular electronic music song. We're going to go ahead and press Initiate. And we hear the same type of business occurring, where it has to play through the file quickly, and before we can build a model out of it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to look at order. And basically order, we can think of, we're building a new sequence out of these two pieces of these two large pieces of data, the two MIDI files. And this sequence, we're going to start on a note, and we're going to be able to navigate probabilistically based on the way that note progressions occur in the input files, we're going to navigate probabilistically to new notes. And what order is going to do is going to determine how many notes in the past determine what our options are for the future. So we can, 1 is just going to be 1 note in the past, 2, 2, and so on. The higher you go, you can sort of loosely think that the higher you go, the more we might hear little fragments of melodies that sound familiar to us, because so many notes are determining what the next note is that it's going to just by chance occur, sort of recreate accurately different lines of the song. But 3 I found is sort of a nice way to maintain the quality of the different MIDI files we're putting in while also maintaining sort of a new randomly generated type sound. Now we're going to press build. This might take quite a while, but just hang in. I'll probably cut the video out. But if you're doing this on your own, it might take a minute. Alrighty, so once our Markov chain has been built, we'll be ready to create some music with it. We can press this one shot to just generate one note at a time. So yeah, we could see that in action here. I'm just sending it to this simple operator synth in Ableton, which is right now just set to be playing just a sine wave, just for simplicity's sake right now. And there's a couple different ways that we're going to be able to sculpt the output. The first thing we're probably going to want to do is hear it generate notes all by itself consistently. So we can press generate. And so, this is going to be random based on the values that it's looking at from the input MIDI files. So that's why it might sound a little bit, it needs sculpting right now. It's very raw data-y. But we can see it generating by itself. One parameter that we can adjust is the pitch of the notes. So this is all MIDI pitch in integers, so we can increase by half step up to 12 or beyond even 12. Every 12 is going to be an octave, of course. So say if we want to go down an octave, or up an octave, right? Velocity, that's going to be, for example, how hard we're hitting the note, and we can increase that or lower it. I'm just going to leave it right in the middle here. That's just going to be strictly derived data. Now, we also have duration. That's how long notes are going to be held for. And just like velocity, the duration control is also going to be sort of an offset parameter, right? We can't, unless we go to custom, but as derived, we're not going to be able to set a specific duration for every note. So it's not going to be every note lasts a second or 2 seconds, but it's going to be derived. And these notes are going to fluctuate just as the duration of notes over the course of a piece of music are going to fluctuate. As we increase this float, it's going to, or this number box, it's going to increase the average duration of every note. So for example, if we set it to 1, every derived note duration is going to be increased by 1 second. We're going to have a more pad-like sound. Or if we lower it, it's going to be more staccato type sounding. And same thing for speed, right? This is going to be derived speed, so it's not going to be all the same rhythm. It's going to fluctuate over time, just like it fluctuates over time in a piece of music. But as we increase this number, the amount of time between notes is going to increase. So we can think of this loosely as, more half notes or more whole notes, more long tones, held tones as we increase it. And as we lower it below 0, it's going to start subtracting from whatever the derived data is, thus making it on average faster. So we can hear that here. So we could see it's already sort of sped up. Again, this is on average though, so we still might get rather long durations or distances between new notes being generated. Now, if we change these to custom, we could set a consistent amount. So for speed, say we want a new note every second. And so we wanted that to last 2.5 seconds. We could start to see how that could be useful for generating ideas. So yeah, this is a pretty fun tool I've found for maybe generating new ideas, breaking out of maybe writer's block in the middle of a composition. You could even, take data from a composition, put it in here, put it back in, and sort of like a recursive process. But I think that sort of covers the basics. So thanks so much for watching. Quick note at the end here, I also have a Max Relive device of this tool, if that is something that is of interest. We can see that right here. Works exactly the same. And both of these can be downloaded at the GitHub link in the description if you're watching on YouTube. Thanks so much.